about teaching listening and speaking to young learners. And there's a quotation I really like about language acquisition. You need to hear a word before you can say it. You need to say a word before you can read it. And you need to read the word before you can write it. This is Caroline Lee's in her book about teaching young learners. And this formula really works with young learners. First, we teach them to listen and to speak, and only after that we can move on to reading and writing. And it depends on the children's age, but if a child is a preschooler, for example, the reading and writing stages may happen years after the child started to learn to talk and to understand your speech, yes? With all the children, it changes actually, because if you have a group of 10-year-olds, you can read a new text, and students can find new words in this text, yes, and so they can read before they know the word. But the younger the children are, the better this formula works. So I'd like, before we talk about speaking, I'd like to concentrate on listening, because most of the learning with young learners, it happens through listening and learning is structured. So students listen to lots of things. It's songs and chants in our course books, videos and cartoons which we bring into our classroom, stories and cartoons in our course books. Sometimes we add picture books. Does anyone use picture books in classes? Yeah? Sometimes, yeah, from time to time, because we don't have so much time, the curriculum and everything, but from time to time we can add a picture book. They have listening exercises, but not as many as I would like to have. And they listen to us, the teachers. So they have, I'd like to say that they have a lot of exposure, but actually to have 2 lessons a week, that's not so much. So, how do we divide a listening activity into steps? So we are going to listen to a story, or a song, or a chant, and do something with it. What stages do we have?
Listening.
Yeah. Easy. So before listening, while listening, and after listening. But I do not really like what some course books offer us as a guide for teachers. So this is an example from Island 1. It's for 7-8-year-old students in their first year. And this is what we have on the plan. Can you see the plan? No, not really. So, here's a picture about school things, and the focus is school things and the numbers from 11 to 20, and the song goes like this. Rulers, rulers, how many rulers can you see? Books, books, how many books can you see? And the suggested practice in the book says, look at the picture of mice and ask about classroom objects, like how many objects, how many books can you see in the picture, how many rulers. Then listen to the song. Students listen and point to different objects. Play the song again, pausing for pupils to find and count the school things. And we have like a lot of things, 17, 18, 19. It takes a lot of time for students to count them, and everyone has a different option, so we have to recount them again. And then check answers by asking how many books, how many pencils, play the song again, and students sing along. When pupils are confident, use the karaoke version. Can we change this plan somehow to make listening make a better listening activity? Because if students are listening something with their books open, what are they doing? They're reading. Yeah. Don't look. It depends on the task you give them. If it's just listen, if you ask them some question, listen and tell me what is Jane's favorite toy, or listen and tell me how old Maria and Anne. They start listening and reading the text. They start looking for information in the text. So that's no longer listening actually, because they're not practicing their listening skills. They are reading the text. So my idea is, no matter what teacher's book offers us, I do not listen for the first time with the books open, because it's no use. We are practicing reading. Maybe it's the first unit and in September maybe they're not confident readers, so they won't read it actually. But if they are a little older, you have a text, why should we listen and read it at the same time? So I've got an alternative lesson plan. So, and before listening, why look in the book and count the mice in the book? We have got a classroom with realia, so I ask students to hold up your pen, hold up your ruler, hold up the book. Okay, now put all these things on the desk. And for the first time, we listen and we order the school things on our desk. So rulers, books, how many books? Pencils, how many pencils? So they have not seen the text, they have just listened to the song. And we are practicing listening now because they have to recognize the names of school things. Then we open the books and we count the school things and write the numbers. And then we listen and follow in the book, sing along. And after that, we do a follow-up activity. So we collect our students' things into a big box, all the rulers, all the pencils, all the rubbers, and students take turns come into the box, and all the class sings books, how many books. And we also added some other things from our classroom, like toys, and a lot of students had toy rabbits at that time, a couple of years ago. All kids had like small rabbits made of natural fur. Yeah, every student had, some had 2 or 3. They still have, yeah. And okay, they're crazy about rabbits. Why not count the rabbits too? So we counted the things in our box. We sang a song, and before students actually open the book and look at the text, they have heard the song and they have a visual plan of the song, which makes it easier for them to read the song. When they are not confident readers, like in September, they're just starting to learn English, and they're not able to read it, but with the help of the things, they can reconstruct the song. And if students are confident readers, it helps them not to look into the text, not to read, but to concentrate on what they are hearing at this moment. So before listening activities, usually we set the context, like we describe school themes and what we have. We may review the vocabulary, we may introduce some new vocabulary to the song from YouTube and you want to add something. And we may also focus on connected speech. For example, in this song from Fly High, they have an orange bag, and for beginning students, I noticed that beginning students do not always understand an orange bag in a song. A yellow bag, an orange bag, and some students can hear orange and some cannot. So before listening to the song, we named some objects. So, and I used some orange objects. So they named an orange ruler, an orange book, an orange pencil. So, and it's easier for them after that to listen to the song. So what do we do while reading, or while listening, sorry? Yeah, some tasks, because fill in the gaps, for example, yes, find an answer to the question. Match, yes, because pictures. Yes, because they have to be actively involved in listening, not just listen and look in the book, not for the first time when you are listening to the song. I have got a lot of activities, and no one of them includes open your book and listen and follow in the text. We listen and match different objects. For example, this is the same song from Fly High 1, about different colors, and we listened to the song. And first, students had to touch the object they hear, and during the second part of the song, they had to match the object to the color. Touch. Yes, Lisa, yes, Varya. Yes, Tesha. Okay, now take the colors. Stop, listen. Yes, take the colors. Listen. Я не понимаю. Okay, but other students, they understand, so they show what to do. So in such cases, I just step aside and let students do that. Or sometimes, if it's not a song but some activity, I can ask a student who knows what he or she is doing. Okay, can you explain it to Masha? And they come up and explain it in Russian usually. So yeah, we match different objects, and it may be flashcards, but I had a ball, a fish, a bag in the classroom, a bird, so I decided to use the objects because it's more interesting for children to have an opportunity to touch something real. And for example, here we matched days of the week and different activities like play football, play hide and seek, go swimming, play computer games. So we listen to a song, and students, sometimes we listen to a song 2 times, 3 times, because students get the right order. But that's even better because they have so many encounters with the song that by the time we start to read it in the book, they have already memorized it. So we can just listen and order the cards. So in Supermind we have perfect chance for that. So every time we listen to a chant, I put the cards on the board, students listen, order them or sort them into groups, and then sometimes it takes 2 or 3 listening. By the end of the year, sometimes it's 1, maybe 2, and then we look at the cards and listen again and check and chant along. And after that, we look at the chant, look at the pictures, and we add CPR and we chant together. And only after that, we go to the code book, we open the book, and since they are just starting to learn English, it's hard for them to read this chant. But if they have listened to it 4 times, they have chanted it once, they do not have to read it. They just look at the text and they follow in the text and they say the chant because they have memorized it already. And that's how we learn to read with our beginning readers. And another option is sometimes I use these. Okay, so let me see. Okay. It's no, I think I just have to change the battery in this one because it used to be much brighter. Yeah, so we use laser pointers. I have about 6 or 7 in the classroom, and students, for example, will listen to a very energetic song about a mouse who is running in the house, and I made a picture. I organized pictures like, oh, she's in the bedroom. Oh no, she's in my bed. Now she's in the kitchen, and so on. And I put some pictures on the board, and students have to listen to the song and to follow the mouse with this. And you can also use it instead of listen and order. You can use listen and point to the word you hear right now. It's sometimes good to change the activity because they get used to them. It's not so fun, but if one lesson you have objects and another lesson you just order and another lesson you use laser pointers and then something else, students stay engaged and they like these activities. And for example, with Playfair 1, we had a song about monsters, about monster face. Look, I've got 3 eyes and 2 noses and 2 mouths. So for our listening activities, I made templates with monsters, just a circle, and gave every student 3 templates. We listened to the song a lot of times before they got the correct number of eyes and noses and mouths, and then I stuck them onto ice cream sticks, and they had their own puppets. And after that, we could listen to that song in the book, and they already know the text because they're 5 or 6 year olds in their first year of learning English. It's still hard for them to read, but after so much exposure to listening, after making their own props, which they can look at, it's much easier for them to listen to the chant, to listen to the song, and then we can, after a few listenings, we can read the song and they read it perfectly because they again have memorized it. Sometimes you can make a prop. For example, for these students, we had a song about red apples and green apples. I made a Velcro prop. You know Velcro, yes? So you laminate pictures, and the students can take the pictures off and put them back, and we listen to a song about apples. But of course, I wouldn't bother to make it if I only used it for the song, because after the song we used it again to count, to practice counting apples, and then I made also templates with yellow pears and green pears, and we substituted apples for pears and made a new song. So students take turns picking apples. Ira, it's your turn. Okay. So it goes like this. We will not listen to them. Only parents are interested in watching the whole version. Yes, but this is a fun prop, and students like the sound of Velcro, and they like picking apples, putting them back. So we had a lot of fun after that, counting them, counting apples, putting the apples, or picking apples, and then we changed apples for pears, and we sang a new song. Look, 10 green pears, 10 yellow pears, crunch, crunch, and that was a new song, and that was fun. Of course, if you just want to listen something, it may be not a wise idea to invest an hour or more into making something, but if it's a prop which may be used with other groups for other activities, then it's worth doing, it's worth making. And again, we can make a gap fill. For example, this is People Minds again, and students are not super keen on singing all the songs from People Minds. Sometimes. My students like the first, but not the second, for some reason. So I decided, okay, we may skip singing them if you don't want, but you have to complete the gaps while listening. And after they complete the gaps, they sing them more willingly. And you can also, sometimes they can just make a screenshot of the page and cut the song into lines, and the task is listen and order. But you can also make it more challenging for students, and you can use it as a before listening task. order the lines, then listen and check if you were right. Because for students of higher levels, for stronger students, it's a more challenging and a more interesting activity, because if you can organize the lines in the song, if there is some logic in the song, yes, and students may organize them by looking at the lines, it's more interesting for them to then listen to the song and check if they were right. Students like making predictions and checking their predictions. So you can also cut the songs into lines or make gap fills sometimes. And after listening, we have to use the pattern either in speech or in writing. So we have to use it for some productive skills, because we do not learn chant to know a chant. We use it to be able to use this language, these chunks, these patterns from the chant or the song or the story in our own speech. So, for example, in the activity with I can see two birds, I can see two bags, I brought a spyglass made from Pringles cans into the classroom, and students first, they took turns looking and describing what they can see in the classroom, and they put some extra objects around the classroom like apples, and then it was a slightly more creative task, because I told them, oh, look, I can see a big blue parrot, and they know that there's no big blue parrot there, and they understand they have to make something up, and they take the spyglass and they see, oh, I can see a small pink elephant, I can see a big purple monster, and so on. So it also develops their creativity, their ability to think of something new and original. Yeah, and we use it for speaking. And for example, this chant from Little Minds again, I thought it would be interesting to write similar chants. And we discussed the chants in the classroom, we discussed the rhymes in the classroom, because in the end of the chant, there's a rhyme. For example, okay, it's hard to say. For example, her eyes are blue, they are blue, so blue. Do you know her name? Oh, yes, it's Sue. So we discussed which would rhyme with colors, and we made at home, we made our own chants, and then they brought them into the classroom and we listened to each other, and they did quite a good job, and so we used it for writing, for example. So let's go on. So speaking activities, we want our young learners to speak, right? And speaking is not just like asking, can you swim? Yes, I can. Can you fly? No, I can't. That's a speaking, but that's a speaking drill. Yes, we just practice our one pattern. But in real life speech, we do not speak with one pattern. We include lots of other patterns, lots of language. And if we want our students to be able to communicate in some real life situations, they go abroad somewhere, for example, we want them to get used to talk using different patterns, combine everything they know, and where can we get good models for that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. In chants, we often have one pattern, yes, but in stories and in cartoons, which we have in our course book, we have more real-life situations, we have more language, so they add something, not just one pattern, or sometimes it's just one pattern, but in Super Minds, for example, they have really nice phrases, really useful language, so they add quite a lot, and that's what I liked about it. Where else?
In the books?
Yeah, in the books. In which parts of the book?
In some dialects, workbooks.
Yeah, exactly. In the dialogues, because dialogues do not use one pattern, like have you got. Yeah, in dialogues we have some situations which have a beginning and an end. Okay, so in our course books we can use songs and chants, but we need to develop them a little, add something. We can use dialogues, stories, exercises from the book, and we can use also We can add picture books from time to time. For example, what about songs and chants? In songs and chants, we practice just one pattern, but we can add something to act out situations which will be more real life. For example, this is again Superman, and this is Superman 1, and this is the first unit, and in this unit they are practicing school subjects. There's a story about Flash, who forgot her forgot her notebook at home, so she comes to school, and there's a chant about it because she rushes back home and loses all her things on the way home. And the chant is, "Hey Flash, come back, your note, your ruler, your rubber, your pencil, your pen." And they're starters. They don't know much, but they already know, "Hello, how are you? Yes, thank you." And this is what we added to act out the situation. Thank you. Not I'm just thank you. Okay. So I always try to add something to act out a small situation, so to show students how they can use it in real life, because if it's just a chant, it's a chant. But here, it's not a chant any longer, you can use it to help your friends. Okay, wow, we can speak English. So, that was about chants. Let's look at our stories in our code book. In most stories can be acted out, yes? And, for example, this is Island 1, and we had a story, it's again just unit 1 of the book, September. We had a story in the end of the unit where they are having a birthday party and they're dividing cakes. 2 pink cakes for you, 2 purple cakes for Oscar, 2 green cakes for Millie, and then while they're dividing them, the dinosaur eats up everything. And first we acted out with the dinosaur and the cake, and then I take out apples because it's September, they don't know much about food, but they know the word apple from the alphabet and they know colors. So instead of purple cakes and orange cakes and green cakes, we have green apples, yellow apples, green and red apples, and we have to act out a similar situation but using apples now. And it's so hard for students in the beginning, and they keep mixing up cakes and apples, but we had fun, they laughed, they correct themselves, and in the end they made a similar situation about apples. We exchanged our roles a few times, and by showing them what to substitute, I show them that we are working with the story for so many lessons, we are learning it, not just because I want them to learn the story, but because we can use the story to talk about something different. So these phrases, they are universal. You just substitute cake for something else, and you can use it. Yeah?
Kartya, how do you get them to act out the story? How do you instruct them what to do? Like in the video?
Oh, yeah. So we divide it into steps. So first lesson. Luckily we have story cards for Island, and it's not what every course book offers, but if you have it, then that's a blessing. So first we listen to we order the story cards, we discuss them, we order them, we listen to the story and check if we are right. Sometimes the students look at the cards and, oh no, let's exchange. This is number 1 and this is number 5. So we have a picture, have pictures of the story, and then I say, okay, let's listen again and check. We listen again and check, looking at the pictures. And then I tell them, okay, now I say, and you point to the picture. And I say, 2 green cakes for Oscar. Hooray! And everybody points to their picture. Or, for example, Waldo, the cakes! And they point to the correct picture. So we have big pictures, so we point to them. But if you don't have pictures, you can just use their codebook. And after that, we may listen again and pause after each phrase and repeat it just like the characters in the book, pretend to be them, speak their voices. And then we go to the book, we open the book, and we listen and follow with our fingers. And if we have memorized, those who have memorized, they may repeat. That's lesson 1. Next lesson, we go back to the story. We open the books, we listen and follow. Then we work with the pictures. So, for example, I describe a picture. I may use the exact phrases from the picture, or I may describe it somehow, like what's happening in the picture. They point to it. We listen, stop, repeat each phrase, practice again, practice our intonation. Then I may ask a couple of students, or it depends on how many students we have in the picture, to come out and act out, and their group mates have to find which picture it is. Like I ask 2 or 3 students, they come out and they act out, but silently. They mime the picture, what is happening there, and their group mates, they guess, this is picture 3. It says, we read the phrase. Then we read by roles, we exchange roles, and next lesson, we start acting it out. So before we start acting it out, we work a lot to memorize it, the story. And next lesson, we act it out. And first we act it out with the cake. And if students forget something, I have got a set of pictures to show them. If I haven't got picture cards for the book, I just use the book to help to remind them what is happening next. And after that, we try substituting. And if it's like the first time, it doesn't work well for the first time, so we go back to next lesson and we try to acting out with apples again. So that's a long process, not just in the first lesson we divide it into like small baby steps, because it's just not so easy for them to memorize it.
I'm sorry, how much time it takes for one course? How much time?
A year.
A year?
Yeah. I've got 75 minute lessons. How much time have you got? 60. Yeah. I've got 75 minute lessons, so we managed to squeeze it in. But even if I had less time, I would rather drop clues, for example, but not acting out situations, because I think this is more important than just reading a text and forgetting about it, because you don't have much time to return back to the clue section and work on it. So for me, speaking is more important than extensive reading, especially if it's about 7, 8-year-old students who just cannot read very well. Why spend so much time on it? I try not to use clues, but if I have to, I would rather drop it, but not speaking. But yeah, we had 90-minute lessons, and that was amazing, but it was very hard to squeeze all the groups into the timetable. 90-minute lessons, perfect. You can do projects and role plays and drama and everything. Okay, so yeah, I have the sequence, so but I've already talked about it, so we'll just keep it. That's another lesson. It's about taking your pet to a vet, but the sequence is the same. So we first work with the story, and then we act out the story. And first we take our dragon, which is in our story, and then we change our dragon for other puppets, and we describe our pet, but now not about tail and teeth, but it's black, it's got 2 ears, it's got 4 arms, and so 4 legs, and so on. So we change the story a little. And we can also use dialogues, because with older students, dialogues provide us with some examples of more real-life speech, because if you are acting out a conversation at a shop, you have got hello, how can I help you, I'm taking this, thank you. So we are not just practicing the pattern. And for example, this lesson is combined with listening. We do the listening tasks, we act out a task from the book, but next lesson we come back to the dialogue, and now we try to sell our boots and bags. Students have sticky notes, they write the prices, and of course the bags are thousands of dollars, yeah, and they try to sell them to each other, and they're having fun. But when you have stories, that's easier. In a story you have just some phrases and pictures for every phrase. So that's not hard to memorize the phrases and their sequence, because you have that sequence of pictures in front of you, or even if you don't have it in front of you, you have the memory. Yeah. So that's not so difficult to reconstruct the story. But dialogues are longer, and you have more language in them. So that's not so easy to memorize them. And if we want students to be able to act something out, they need to remember the dialogue. What can we do? Do you use any memorizing techniques for dialogue? Put it in order. Yes, you can cut it and ask them to put it in order. Exactly.
Write
I write the sentences on the board, then I write off one word and 2 words.
Yeah. Disappearing dialogue. So you write it on the board, or disappearing or vanishing dialogue. Yes, you write all the phrases on the board, and first you listen to it, and you follow it on the board. Then you read it aloud together. Then you start reading it aloud, but in every line you rub out 1 word or 2 words. Usually we start with the easiest words to reconstruct. And then we read aloud, but this time we rub out more words and more words and more words until there's nothing left on the board, and students can still reconstruct it. Yeah, and this technique works really well, because if I tell students who are new to me, okay, now we will learn the dialogue, and they say, no, please, we have so much homework, please don't ask us to learn a dialogue. And I tell them, okay, you can do that in 6 minutes. And they say, no way, no, that's so difficult, we can't. Okay, I can show you, let's try. And we memorize the dialogue in like 6 or 7 minutes. Even if it's a shorter dialogue, even 5 minutes. And I tell them, okay, so how long did it take? 5 minutes. Do not tell me you cannot learn a dialogue as a homework. That's super quick. Yeah, so we can use disappearing dialogue, and it works really well. What else can we use?
I think we can suggest them to substitute some things for their real life.
Exactly, yes. That's a good idea. Yes, I usually do it after we have.
Maybe the same activity like you said before about collocation. You brainstorm.
Yes.
Phrases, and then they use.
Yes, we also use dialogues for finding collocations too, because in dialogues they try to use some real life language, some phrases which are being used by native speakers right now. Yes, and not something far-fetched, because it's for practicing our grammar. And we work with dialogues and finding collocations too. So actually you can use some more techniques. For example, instead of practicing the disappearing dialogue, I may divide my students into groups. Here we have tourist, Amy, and Tom. So that would be 3 groups. And for example, you will be tourist, you will be Amy, and you will be Tom. And we read the dialogue aloud, and then we exchange. Or for example, you may ask girls read for Amy, boys read for tourist, and Tom. Everyone with dark hair reads for that first person, and everyone with blonde and fair hair reads for this person. So we can read the dialogue aloud, but a lot of times every time changing the roles. And we can add CPR, for example, especially with young learners, add some gestures. And for some students, this works well, just repeating the dialogue many times. But my favorite memorizing technique is pictograms or drawing the dialogue. First, I have to show students how that works. Then we don't waste our class time no more. It goes as a homework. For example, we look at the dialogue and we try to substitute every sentence with a picture. Oh, for example, excuse me, I'm looking for the science museum. Number 2. The science museum. Yes, it's... Oh, hey, I know where it is. It is in Green Street. If I was writing in a black marker, I would use green here. Okay. Where is Green Street? Is it far? Oh, no, it isn't. Go straight on, and then turn right, and so on. So we make pictures for every line, and at first I show them on the board. I usually give students some tasks, for example, read the dialogue and answer the questions or do true or false while they are doing something, or find useful connotations while they are busy. I make a plan on the board, and then we look at the plan, and at first we read the dialogue aloud, so all together. Excuse me, I'm looking for the science museum, looking at the pictures. The science museum, I know, it's in Green Street. Where's the Green Street? Is it far? So we look at the dialogue, look at the pictures, and read it aloud. Then I ask students to close their books, but not completely. They can leave a finger or a pen in the book. And now we try to reconstruct the dialogue without looking into the book, but they can still open it occasionally if they want to. And again, we repeat it all together. And finally, we close the books, and we say the dialogue without looking at the text. And they repeat it a lot of times, they listen to each other. And after that, they have memorized it. They can now reproduce it, and then I ask students in pairs to stand up and act out this dialogue. And then we substitute something in the dialogue. For example, at first, again, I have to show them, so I can give them small cards. Sometimes it's even handwritten cards. Then instead of science museum, it's Mirage Cinema, for example, black street, and the directions may be different, so I give them a small card, and they act out a different conversation. And then I want to practice them more, so I change the students. So, for example, I may choose one student from this side of the classroom and one student from that side of the classroom who are not used to working together. You can use, for example, ice cream sticks with names of students. Okay, now you are doing a new dialogue, and they improvise. So they do not have any key information, but they know what they can do, what they can substitute, because we have done that. So, and they just stand up and try to act out a completely new dialogue using this model, and their group mates have to put down what's different in the dialogue. For example, the name of the street is different, not museum but park, and so on. So they try to listen and write down, and then they tell what's changed. So pictograms work really well. So you may use repetition, you may add CPR, you may use pictograms, you may use disappearing dialogues, and after we have tried different techniques with the group, I usually start to discuss with them which technique works best for you, because different people memorize information in different ways. Yeah, some people say it has something to do with our modalities. Some people say that it doesn't have to do something with it. For example, some people say, okay, I'm kinesthetic, but I need visual things for memorizing. So I don't know how exactly it works, but different people prefer different techniques. Yes, and for some students, it will be pictograms, and for some students, it will be just reading aloud a lot of time. And for some students, if disappearing dialogue works, they may do the same at home and just erase some words. And we try to discuss what works best for you, because it's good for them to understand, because we are developing their learning skills, their understanding of how their brain works, because we are all different. And they can choose their favorite technique, and they can stick to it while doing homework. So, and they can say, okay, it works better for me, I will not draw pictograms. Perfect. As far as you have learned the dialogue at home, no questions. Do not draw pictograms if repetition works better for you. So we memorize the dialogues, and we use them in speech. We substitute and change the situation. And pictograms also work very well for retelling text, because at some point we have to start to teach our young learners to retell something, to not only dialogue, but to be able to perform monologues. And we start by, again, retelling small text from our textbook. And this text first, in this course book, first I showed them how to retell a text about Batmobile, and then we had two more texts with past passives, and I gave them a task to do a pictogram and to try to reproduce the text using their pictograms. And of course, they're making mistakes. But that's much better than not to try to retell something at all. Okay. Top secret. Thank you. Fast. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Im. With dates we use im. Correct yourself. Im. Mm-hmm. Repeat, please. Oh. Only one? Mm-hmm. No article. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, That's not the best storytelling, but they have just made pictures and they are trying to retell the text. We read the text last lesson and we worked with it last lesson, but they have not tried to memorize it at home, so that's what they are doing in the classroom. And that's quite fine for the first time. And by doing pictograms, you can teach the students how to retell, because you cannot use disappearing text if you have like a real text. It's too much writing on the board. So pictograms work best for reproducing longer text. And after they have learned how to do that, it's easier with them to retell text. And also, if you have longer text, and you have, you at some point I start showing students which information is important and which is not, and we make pictograms only for important points of information. That's also important to show them how to retell the text, or they will try to memorize every line, and you know that's a waste of time. They won't be able to produce it and they will put too much effort into it. And you can also use pictograms for making your own stories. If you want to practice some past simple, for example, you can just draw a sequence of pictures on the board and students use them to tell you a story. And then you can change some pictures and tell another story. And you can erase all the pictures and students are still able to tell a story, and you can practice it next lesson and they make similar. First you reconstruct the story and repeat it, and then they make similar stories of their own. So pictograms work really well for speaking. Also, some coursebook exercises may be developed into speaking activities, because in some coursebooks you have really nice speaking activities, but very often it's just okay, practice your grammar, practice your vocabulary, and that's all. And we're speaking. How are we going to teach them to speak? We have to add something. And in Fly High, grammar is fine, but speaking, you have to add a lot of speaking. You have to add a lot of listening to the coursebook. So we have a strange song about are we pirates, are we clowns? We are practicing these are you structure, but the song is not really engaging for students, so I ask them to listen and order the lines to engage them at least somehow. Then we listen and sing along, and then we do some exercises. Okay, we have done an exercise, then we play a guessing game in threes. Are you? So two students take a card, and the third student asks them, okay, are you pirates? Are you cowboys? Are you dancers? All right, we have done a speaking drill, we have practiced are you. Okay, we do an exercise, and now we need to practice are they. Okay, we play a relay race with flashcards. So we pass a flashcard along the line, and student passes and says, are they kings? Yes, they are. Are they kings? Yes, they are. Are they kings? Yes, they are. Or I say, are they dancers? And give another picture, and students say, no, they aren't. Are they dancers? No, they aren't. Are they dancers? No, they aren't. And if it's a race, so you either divide a big group into two groups of students, for example, 4 and 4, and they will need to do that quicker than the other team. If you have just a few students, like 5, you cannot divide them. They try to beat the timer. So you set the time with the first flashcard, and you say, oh, hooray, 15 seconds. Can we do the next one faster? And they try to do that faster. Are they clowns? Yes, they are. Are they clowns? Yes, they are. So we have practiced are they. All right, we have practiced another pattern. Then we do one more exercise, and we play a memory game. A memory game with pictures and flashcards. So we take one picture from one pile, a word from the other pile, and we ask, are they kings? Open the word and say, no, they aren't. Are they pilots? Open the word from the other pile. Yes, they are. Okay. We do a grammar exercise, but that's not about speaking. That's just about drilling. That's too boring. And I need some real-life situation to practice this. Are they? Are you? Are they? And it's hard to think of a situation where you ask another person, are they? Are you? Are we? So I decided that we will be aliens, and we'll be asking each other about things we do not know. So children work in pairs, and some children work by themselves. They have got masks of aliens, and they come to pairs of students, and first they try to guess. At first they try to guess who they are. He asks them, okay, are you dancers? Are you clowns? Then he asks this pair of children about another pair of children. Are they kings? Are they dancers? Are they cowboys? And after he has guessed everything, they change pairs and they try again. Because sometimes it's very difficult to think of a concept, but you need to act something out, so sometimes you can use something strange like being an alien. Okay, so we can develop exercises from our code books into some speaking activities. Alright, and we can also use picture books for speaking too. Yeah. And actually what I'm doing with the picture book may be done with the story in the book too, but I really like this picture book because it's so great to talk about things around the table. For example, this is Julia Donaldson, and of course you all know Julia Donaldson and Nick Sherratt. Yeah, Julia Donaldson writes amazing books for children, and this is Chocolate Mousse for Greedy Goose. So I use it to act out situations while eating something. Has anyone got this book, by the way? No? Okay, so we have different animals, and we have food, but I use it for language, for the speaking phrases in the book. So first I read the book to my students. Where's the meal? Asks hungry seal. It's coming now, says busy cow. What can I smell? Asks shy gazelle. Macaroni, says Shetland pony. Too hot for me, says chimpanzee. Blow on it then, says mother hen. Carrots, yuck, says fussy duck. They're good for you, says kangaroo. Chocolate mousse, says greedy goose. Don't just grab it, says angry rabbit. I'll lick the bowl, says sorry mole. I'll lick it cleaner, says hyena. It's all gone, says sad white swan. I lick the cloth, says happy moth. Woof woof, let's wash up, says helpful pup. But lazy sheep says, no, let's sleep. So we read the book, and there's not so much food in the book, so we cannot add a lot of food units into our students' vocabulary, but there are some interesting animals which we do not have in our course books for first or second year students, like hyena or gazelle or mole or chimpanzee. So I think these words are good to teach, but most of all I like the phrases. So and at first we work with the vocabulary, so I usually don't have more than 8 students, so we use this spread. If I had more, I would print a larger copy of this spread, like a poster, and we look at the pictures, and I say, okay, point to the busy cow, point to the sad white swan, point to the shy gazelle. Yeah, and students point their fingers to the book or to the poster, and then I ask students to say the words with me in different voices, like, okay, we are all sad white swans, and they say, a seal, a cow, a gazelle. Okay, now we are all happy moth, a seal, a cow, a gazelle, a pony, a chimpanzee. So we repeat the words a few times in different voices, and then I can play with my students. For example, what's missing? So, okay, look. What's missing? Oh, yes, it's a chimpanzee. And, oh, who's missing now? Yeah, it's a rabbit. Okay, and the vocabulary is new for them, so I also may choose a word. For example, okay, it's sheep, this is sheep. And I start opening the book at random pages, and when students see the sheet, they say sheet and clap. So I open the book on the page with sheep. Ah, they say sheep. Okay, now let's look for cow. Okay, they see the cow, and they, yeah, cow, clap. Okay, next lesson. We read the book again, and before reading, we review the spread with animals. So, and I read and students insert some words. Where's the meal? Asked hungry seal. It's coming now, says busy cow. Yeah, so we read the book together now. And then I come to the phrases because I really like them. For students who can read and write, I may copy them onto the board beforehand. But if students cannot read and write, we just open the spreads and work with them. Okay. For example, so if students can read and write, I write all the mini dialogues onto the board. If they can't, I just open the spread and I say, okay, duck, duck. And I say some carrot, yuck. Does the duck like carrot? Yeah? No. Carrot, yuck. And now, what about you? I don't like milk. Milk, yuck. What about you? And they say, oh, milk, yuck. Fish, yuck. Macaroni, yuck. Tomato, yuck. So we practice the pattern, yeah? And so then I open another spread with another phrase. Chocolate mousse. Don't just grab it. One chocolate mousse. Don't just grab it. Vanilla ice cream. Don't just grab it. Chocolate cake. Don't just grab it. Orange juice. Yeah, and we brainstorm what can be substituted here, like carrot, fish, milk. And here you can say they are good for you or it's good for you. So, and for every spread with good phrases, we do the same. We think what we can substitute. And then every pair of students, they choose one spread. They may take a photo of it or just they take a look at it and they go and practice. So they act out a similar dialogue, but they change something, not carrot, but fish. Yeah, or for example, not where's the meal, where's the soup? It's coming now. So they act out just a similar two-phrase dialogue. Yeah, together. We act out them together. And that's enough for this lesson. And next lesson, we read the book again. We have almost memorized it. And every student gets this plate. They draw something in the plate, some food they know. It may be from the book, but we don't have much food in the book. So we usually use this book when we are studying food, and it may be spaghetti, it may be cake, it may be sausages and chips, anything. And we pretend going on a picnic. So I can, I've got a carpet, so I can put blanket onto the carpet, and say I usually take plastic plates, and we do not draw, but we draw a picture and put it in the plastic plate. And I have slips of paper with their roll. So they draw a slip of paper and okay, I'm a duck, I'm a mole, I'm a chimpanzee, and they act out a dialogue at a picnic, but now they are chimpanzees and dialogues, and they pretend to be the characters, and they use the intonation. While reading, I show them which intonations they can use for every animal, and then they exchange a couple of times, and I can also let them be themselves and just improvise, talking about food and also using the phrases we have learned from the book. You can do the same, but with the stories in your course book. Just choose the phrases which are super useful. Yeah, practice them, act out the situation, change the situation. Okay, so let's go on. The funny thing is, when I bought the book, I didn't know what to do with it. So I bought it for food, but I discovered that there's not so much food in it, and I had it for a couple of years, and I didn't use it because, okay, but there's only chocolate mousse and macaroni, and that's all. And then it occurred to me that it may be used for speaking, and now I have a lesson plan for it. Okay, so some other ideas for speaking activities. So most of the topics we have in our course book may be divided into very simple categories. For smallest children, show and tell daily. Bring your favorite toy and tell about it. Bring a photo of your family and tell about it. Bring a photo of your pet and talk about your pet. So children like bringing something real life, something meaningful to them, and discussing it in the classroom and looking at their friends' photos or favorite clothes or their pets and discussing them. So it works really well for them. Then we can also act out interviews. So you're having a topic about fruit and vegetables. You can have a botanist talking about where they grow, like in supermarkets they grow on plants, in the ground, on trees, for example. You have a topic about clothes. You interview a fashion designer, and he or she tells about the newest models which they have prepared before. You can act out being a guide, and that's not only about places in town, like look, here's the hospital, here's the swimming pool, but it's also a zookeeper telling about, oh, we have got an elephant here, he is very big, and he is gray, and he likes vegetables, and here's the lion is very big, and he likes meat, and here is the snake, and it's lawn, and it's green, and so on. So, or a guide may, being a guide may mean being an estate agent and showing a house. Okay, here now look at the bedroom, look at the huge living room. Oh, look at the sofa in this living room, it's beautiful. And a customer and a client buying something at a shop or at a supermarket, checking in at a hotel, checking in at the airport. So most course book topics may be used with these three patterns for interaction, for dialogue. And students really like to feel grown up people. So it works very well for them to add badges. So a few years ago, I designed a set of badges, and I keep using it, and students like it very much. So you are a doctor or a zookeeper or a reporter, yeah, and students may not be willing to talk or participate in the lesson, but if they can take a badge, or a badge is a microphone, yeah, they'll be waiting for their turn. They will be fighting to be next, to be next zookeeper who will tell about the next animal. So we have studied animals. I put the flashcards or toys, if you have toys, around the classroom, and oh, welcome to our zoo. Who is the first zookeeper? Me. Okay, tell about the elephant. Okay, who wants to be next zookeeper? Tell about the monkey. So you can trick students into doing everything if you give them something tangible, something they can touch, yeah, some real life or real life things, or some toy food, doctor's set for playing a doctor, badges, microphones, maybe a fake CD made with a box. CD is now not so popular with students, so maybe a fake YouTube playing, yeah, because TV is a little old-fashioned, but they watch lots of bloggers, they post their own videos, they talk a lot about making their channel, so yeah, you can cut a box and make like YouTube, 1 million subscribers, thousands of likes, and okay, talk about your day. Okay, it instantly becomes more interesting for them if they have props. And there are also some games which may be used with different topics. So one of the games is very good for practicing questions, different questions, and it's called Wicked Witch. For example, you want to practice you have studied 3 topics, and you want to practice. Have you what? What are you wearing? What can you do? Oh, sorry, what have you got? Let's represent special culture. And every child gets a card. All the children get empty card, but one of the students in the group gets a card for Wicked Witch, which has the answer. What have you got? So what have you got? A black cat, for example. What are you wearing? A black dress. And what can you do? I can fly on a broom. So you give every student a piece of paper. They don't show it to their partners. Everyone's piece is blank, but one student is the Wicked Witch, so he or she has got the answer. Another student is a witch hunter, and he goes around and asks 3 questions. Every time it's a new student, for example, what can you do? I can play the guitar, for example. What are you wearing? Yeah, okay, and what have you got? And if the student finds the Wicked Witch and she says, ha ha ha, I've got a black cat, and the witch casts a spell on the student, and when she says, ha ha ha, I've got a black cat, the student freezes in that position, and the whole group has to chant 1, 2, 3. You are free to unfreeze the student. So if you have 3 answers, then you should have more students in the group. For example, 4 students, yes, and 1 witch hunter. Yes, 5 students in the group. If you have like 3 students in the group, then 1 student will be Wicked Witch, and you will have only 1 variant. So it depends on the number of the students. If you have 6 or 7 or 8, 3 or 4 variants, 3 or 4 questions. So this game is good to review special questions and review different grammar topics together. So nobody wants to find this Wicked Witch. It works better for bigger groups, of course. Yeah, but that's fun. Okay.
Can I ask you?
Yes, sure.
All of them have cards without empty cards, yeah?
Yes, empty cards. And
so when the witch hunter asks, what can you do?
they answer whatever they want, like what can you do? I can play basketball, I can dance, I can jump, I am wearing a white jumper and black jeans. They answer the truth. But if that's a witch, we know what the witch will answer. We have the answers about the witch.
Yes.
So, and you will ask just 3 questions, and 1 person, 1 question. So you hope not to find the witch. If you have asked 3 questions and you haven't found the witch, then okay, somebody else becomes a witch hunter. Yes,
so
and you change the card. Yes, so you collect the card back, and the black witch marks you. Yes, and you deal them again, and somebody else is a black witch, and somebody else is a witch hunter. So that's for practicing questions. Also, one thing that works well for reviewing a lot of the vocabulary is you could use headbands, and you can buy headbands, the game headbands, yes, where there are plastic headbands and pictures. But actually, you can not bother and just make some rubber bands and use Velcro. So you use Velcro on the band, and you give pieces of paper to students. You cut into small pieces. They write words on the card, or I write words on the card. Or for smaller students, I print pictures and put them on the card. And you stick the picture to the students for it. And in a real game, students have to ask questions about themselves, like, can I? What do I look like? For young learners, it may be too challenging. Yeah? This is more for students of higher level. So in our games with young learners, they divide into teams, and teams have to describe them, what they are, in a certain amount of time, and they have to guess. So, for example, if it's an elephant, their team shouts to them, "You are big, you are gray, you've got a big nose." "Oh, I'm an elephant," because they are too young to ask so many different questions. Yes, if they are, as they get older, we play the normal version. Yes, we can also play the taboo game, and you have a word, and you have to describe the word to your team, but without using some keywords, like you have to describe a carrot, but you cannot use the word vegetable and orange. Yeah, and you say, okay, it's in the garden, it's in the ground, and it's lawn, and students try to guess. Yeah, it's also not for complete beginners, but in the second or third year we start playing that. And I also like finding big pictures with lots of characters, like some picture dictionaries, or sometimes you have posters for teaching young learners, for getting ready for young learners exams. Yes, right. And there are also many characters doing something, and I can ask students to choose two characters, look at them, and try to act out their imaginary conversation. What are they talking about right now? But that's again in the third or fourth year of learning, not so early, because they won't be able to do that. So that's practically all about speaking. So I use all the props, a lot of props, realia, badges, masks, puppets. I can add role play cards like you are a witch, you are a pirate, to add something interesting to spice up acting out. So you're acting out a story, but you speak like a pirate, or you speak like a witch, or you speak like a ghost. Yeah, or you can give them cards with different emotions. You're happy, you're super tired, you're angry, you are sleeping, you're sleepy. And I sometimes let students improvise, so I just give them puppets and let them play whatever they want. And I also have got a puppet, and I participate too, and I add something, and I try to make them use everything we have learned and to talk about something without any preparation, just improvising. And if I think they need help, I just ask some questions or say, oh, let's play a game, and so on, and they make mistakes, of course, but they are trying to have fun with the language to speak. Okay, I guess that's all I have for today. Thank you for being such wonderful audience. Have you got any questions?